It is time for the next final chapter vlog. Hi, I am Sabrina, and this is my series where I want to finish all the series that I've started over the last probably 15 years. I started this series in July 2024 with 50 series that I've started and never completed. I left the last vlog with 26 series that I want to continue. And I also start this vlog with 26 series to continue. But we had a few changes here because between the last vlog and this vlog now, my buddy read partner Marin caught up on the Black Dagger series and finished the last book that I've read. And we came to the same conclusion here that there are stories we are interested in and that could possibly be good, but it's not worth the journey to get there. That we are too annoyed by a lot of things like misogyny and alpha male behavior, miscommunication, and even toxic behavior. So it is not worth for us to continue the Black Dagger universe, and we will DNF it, which brings me to 25 series to continue. Then I started the game series by Nairay Dawn for the last 26 for 2026 vlog, but I've also completed the series in this vlog, so still 25. But there's another series that I've started for my Thursday Read With Me videos. It is the Divine Rivals duology by Rebecca Ross, which brings me to the final number here, 26. And now I want to bring this number down again, which I won't do with the first book of this vlog, because it is Zodiac Academy 9 Restless Stars by Susan Valenti and Caroline Peckham. It is the final book of the Zodiac Academy series, but not the final book in this universe. There is another 4-book series set 5 years after Zodiac Academy. It is called the Darkmoor Penitentiary series, and I will read that for an extra vlog. So I will count this whole universe as finished after I finished the Darkmoor Penitentiary series. So for now, I'm reading Restless Stars, and I am halfway through the book. It is super chunky. The ebook of this book has over 1,100 pages. And yes, I'm reading the ebook, not this copy, because the writing is tiny here. Let me show it to you. And now let's compare it with a normal book. So, can you see the difference? It is a big difference, let me tell you that. And I'm also listening to the audiobook here. So I prefer to consume this story in immersive reading, which means listening to the audiobook while reading it physically or digitally in this case, but also with the eyes. And as I said, I am halfway through the book now, and there is a lot going on in the last book of the Zodiac Academy series now. There is a lot happening, a lot of twists and turns. But with each step of this plot, we are getting a little bit closer to the end and the final conclusion, to the end of this epic war between the queens, Darcy and Tori. and the King Lionel, the false king everybody hates, except the dumb people who worship him. But all the people we care about fight together for the right thing. They are ready to sacrifice everything. They want Darcy and Tori on the throne. And I not only enjoy the friendships here, I also enjoy the romantic relationships and the character development that we had over the whole series. Getting to the final conclusion here, all the characters had so much growth, and I'm loving every single second of it. I can't tell you much about the story itself at this point because everything is a spoiler, even which persons are still alive and part of the story. So I will keep my mouth shut here and will enjoy continue reading and listening to Restless Stars before I come back with another update. Zodiac Academy readathon for the last 3 days. So I finished Restless Stars now, and with that, the whole Zodiac Academy series. And I can say that I am really, really happy with the ending of the story and that I'm leaving these characters behind now with mixed feelings because I am sad that I need to leave them now, but I'm also very, very happy about the end of the series. And most of the second half was the final battle of the series because all of this was final battle and the epilogues to the Zodiac Academy series. So the final battle was super long, super extensive, and went over, I don't know, 40 chapters or even 50. They were all quite short, but I really liked this way of storytelling for the final battle because we got a lot of point of views here. A lot of things are happening at the same time. People are dying. We had a lot of action, a lot of fighting, a lot of drama and emotions from the good kind and the bad kind. And I think this final battle fitted really well into the whole series. And I loved that the final battle wasn't over in 5 chapters because I don't think that is realistic for a final battle for a whole war. I think the way the authors did it here was way more realistic, and I loved the plot twist. I loved how we get to the end of this whole war step by step when they accomplish things or don't accomplish them. And I also loved the epilogues here. They made me smile and laugh, but I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to spoil too much. And the only thing that really annoyed me that I realized now in Restless Star is that we have a lot of appearances of Gabriel, of Dante, of Leon from the Ruthless Boy series, but Elise is never mentioned, not once. She doesn't have an active role here, not even in the final battle, which I think was very sad because she was a badass female character in Ruthless Boys. And for me, she deserved more. But I also understand that the authors didn't want to spoil anything from the Ruthless Boys. So they only talked from the wife. And let's not forget that there was a fourth man in the Ruthless Boys. He also wasn't mentioned in the Zodiac Academy series, at least not that I can remember, which leads to me not remembering his name now. Maybe you can remember me in the comments of this video, because let's be honest, I'm too lazy to looking it up now, because I want to continue reading with the next series. So I will read the first book in the Darkmoor Penitentiary series. Next, for the world of Solaria, the Darkmoor Penitentiary series is set 10 years after Zodiac Academy, not 5. I thought it was 5, but it is 10. And I thought Darkmoor Penitentiary is the love story between Rosalie, Dante's little sister, and Rory, Leon's older brother. But I also looked it up, and it is reverse harem. So I am a little bit torn about my expectations here, because Ruthless Boys wasn't my favorite. But fingers crossed that I will like Darkmoor Penitentiary. I will read the 4-book series for an extra video, and I will continue this video with another series. Next book and next series to finish, I'm reading Heart Bay Book 4 by Stephanie Ross. The book is called Brisantes Wiedersehen, which is loosely translated to Explosive Reunion, and it is a second chance romance for a male character that we already know from the former books of the series. This book is now about Charles and his ex-wife. He wants to get back together with her, but he also doesn't know how, because they broke up for a reason. But he's still in love with her. He wants her back. And now she's coming to Heart Bay. And surprisingly, she's the new sheriff of this small town. We haven't heard a lot of good things about her in the former books, because the only thing we know is that they broke up and that she doesn't come to Heart Bay to visit him and their son. And from Charles' POV, that she doesn't want to visit the son is a red flag, which I can understand. And I wasn't sure if the reason she tells him was really true. It all felt a little bit suspicious, and I thought there was a bigger reason behind it. But no, she was honest. A friend of her was super, super sick, and so sick that she was dying, and she didn't want to leave her friend alone to die. So she stayed with her, and now she's in Heart Bay, spends time with her son, spends time with Charles, and is thrown right into her new job as a sheriff, because suddenly there are some fires in the small town. People got murdered, and it is all set around her, which is super suspicious. So she, her colleagues, and Charles start to investigate in that, because Charles is an FBI agent. And in this book, he's an asshole. He is super grumpy and not the person I know from the former books of the series. He's also very misogynistic in what he thinks his wife or ex-wife should do. And he really needs some character development now to grow, to get out of these thoughts, and to get a chance with his ex wife. Because as he is now, no way, red flag. He needs to change a lot, even if he already changed a lot because he was a big workaholic back then, and that already changed when he moved with the son to Hard Bay. He's still working a lot, two jobs, but he's also there for the son and takes care of him. But I see the problems these two have with each other, and they need to find solutions to that. Adding to the suspense plot, I already had a guess who was behind all these murders and fires, but I don't think anymore that he was it. After the last few chapters of the first half of the book that I've read, because yes, I'm halfway through the book now. It is my least favorite of the series so far, mostly because I don't enjoy Charles in his current state, being overwhelmed by everything and shooting back at everyone. I hope that gets better in the second half because, all in all, I still enjoy reading the series and I want to finish it. So I will go back to reading now and I will talk to you after I finished the book. And I am back with an update. I finished Hard Bay Book 4, and with that, the series, which is super exciting to me. But let's talk a little bit about the story and my final opinion on it. The romance was okay to me. I was a bit disappointed by it, especially because of Charles' behavior, which I explained before, and because they never really talked about everything. They just got back together because they saw the other person changed, but it wasn't really satisfying for me, which is why I was a bit disappointed. But the suspense plot, that was really well done. And like in book 2, I was surprised by it because there was way more behind what happened than we saw at the start of the story. And I really, really liked that the story wasn't that predictable. And I also really liked how all the side characters were part of the story. So, the whole friend group we know from the former books of the series, but also characters from other series. We also had that in the books before, that we had characters from the DeGrasse series by the same author playing a role now in the Hardbase series. And now we had Khalil and Cassie, so side characters from the DeGrasse series, and I think they have an own novella, but I haven't read that. So, as I am a big fan of these Easter eggs, I was really happy about that. But all in all, I think this was my least favorite book of the whole series, which is a bit sad as this was the final book in the series. We had a conclusion for everything, so I am okay with that ending for the series. But I am also okay with continuing another series now. And I already did that. As you know, I'm not only reading one book at a time, I'm reading multiple books, which leads to me being already halfway through Rule of Wolves, the second book in the King of Scars duology by Lee Bardugo. Or better, I'm almost halfway through. I'm missing two chapters to the halfway point, but the first part of the book ended here. So I thought this was a better time to update you. And so far, I can say I am super, super sad that we lost one of the characters in book one, that he didn't appear again, which means he is truly dead. And I'm also not quite sure if I'm the biggest fan of the main plot of the book. So I'm okay with the whole war part, but the whole Darkling part, I'm not so sure about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is well written, it is interesting, it is intriguing, but it is also a little bit of a repetition from the Shadow and Bone trilogy at this point. Because now we have the same conflicts, the same problems, and that all just added to the war situation between Hrafgar and the Shu and Fjerda. So there is a lot going on, and we have, like in the former books, characters in different situations. One of them is Nikolai, and he always surprises me because he's a sneaky little bastard, and I'm loving everything about that. Especially what he did now with the whole marriage. I smiled brightly about that. That was such a good and a smart move. I loved it. But I'm also loving to follow Nina and Hannah because they have a completely different storyline and a completely different task to fulfill, which is super intriguing. And I can't wait to see what Nina will do next because everything she needs to do to fulfill her task seems impossible, but she always finds a way somehow. And these ways really shows how much she learned from Cass Brecker. And I'm super intrigued to see if we will have a reunion of the characters. So, if we see certain characters from the Six of Crows duology again, because we also already had surprise guests from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So I can't wait to see what will happen in the second half of Rule of Wolves. So, what will happen in the conclusion for the whole Grishaverse? Which means I will continue reading now and I will talk to you after I finished the book. And I'm here for the final update of Rule of Wolves because I finished the book now and it was a four-star read to me because there were many things that I loved, but I also had some issues with it. Let's talk about the things that I loved first, which was the depth of the story and the characters, the character development, the action we had, the tension, the plot twist that I didn't see coming, the flawless writing. So when I sat down to read, I really flew through these pages. It was a super quick read, but it wasn't exactly my read. And I'm talking not only about Rule of Wolves here, I'm talking about the whole Grishaverse. I didn't really get into the stories. I didn't really feel the need to continue the stories. But I was completely fine reading it when I started reading the book and continuing the story. And I still think that I enjoyed this duology the most out of the Grishaverse because of all the things that I told you about. But I also think that there were plot lines that we didn't need in the story at all. So everything around the Darkling was not necessary for the story. It would have been the same story without the Darkling. And I also didn't really need this end for him. So I wasn't really happy with that. And I'm also question the whole storyline about Yuri and the dragon and what we had there to give a certain character even more power. I think the whole story would have been the same without these powers. But in all of this context, I appreciated the personal conflicts of the characters, the explanation of their trauma and how they started to heal. I love the ending for Nikolai and Zoya and also for Nina. I won't go into too much detail here, but at some point close to the end, I wanted to throw the book out the window, which I couldn't because it was an ebook and my e reader didn't deserve that. But I was so furious at some point after something happened, and I was ready to DNF the book 80 pages from the end or so. And if you read the book, you probably know why. And the only thing I can say here is that I was furious because one particular character didn't deserve this ending. So that's why I was super mad. But as I said, all in all, I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the whole duology. I enjoyed the Grishaverse. But I'm also not mad about the fact that I finished the Grishaverse now. I won't read the graphic novel and the companion books with a lot of short stories. I have no interest in that. But maybe I will watch the series at some point in the future. I'm interested to see this adaptation, even if they canceled the series at some point. I'm aware of that, but I still want to see it. So that's it for now, and I can go now to the next series. And what would be a final chapter vlog without starting a new series? I started the Preston Brothers series by Jay McLean with Loving Lucas. This is the German edition with sprayed edges. The English title is just Lucas. And right now, this is a 4 book series. I don't know if there are more books planned, but so far that's it. And I am halfway through book 1 now, which is the only book I have at this point. And I'm not quite sure if I want to read the other books in the series because so far I expected a bit of a different story. The whole reason why I got this book is that a friend of mine said that this book is like Boys of Tommen, that this series has the same vibe as Boys of Tommen. But yeah, I see it in some way, but in other ways, no, it is not like Boys of Tommen. And I wanted to read something like Boys of Tommen. That is one of my favorite series ever. And this is way more teenage drama than I wanted. But now, in the middle of the book, we are getting more into the heavier topics. So there is some hope. And all in all, I like the writing of Jay McLean. And I also cried a few times halfway through the book, which is also a good sign because that shows this story touches me. It makes me feel, and that's why I love these heartbreaking stories. But the teenage drama, I don't know, that is not what I want to read. And there is a lot of teenage drama, especially between the main characters, Lois and Lucas, because they are best friends since they were 11 and they are now 17, 18. and they were in love with each other the whole time, but nobody wants to talk about it. They say to each other again and again that they are just friends, and that hurts the other person. Nobody wants to make themselves vulnerable, and the moment one of them does, I was so hopeful that the story takes another direction then. But surprise, no, he fucks up the next moment and destroys every progress we had. So I'm super annoyed sometimes with the turns of the story and with the behavior of the characters. And I also don't like the turn the story took after that. So the whole storyline with Cooper, because huge red flag. I don't want to spoil anything. So that's why I don't go deeper into that topic. But my alarm is ringing here. And I think that is the heavier topic we get into. But on the other side, it is also good that we have this storyline, that someone wrote about it, because it is so easy to get into a toxic relationship and falling deeper and deeper into it. So it is super important that this is discussed, that readers can see it and maybe can also see that they are in a similar situation and that this behavior is not normal, that this is problematic. But in the end, I hope we get Lucas and Lois together. That's my ultimate goal here. But we also had some foreshadowing that was a bit scary. So we have a lot of emotions here, and I will continue reading today. So hopefully I can update you soon and give you my final opinion. Here we go. I finished Loving Lucas and can say I see why the people say this is similar to Boys of Tommen, but in my opinion, sadly, a very bad version of Boys of Tommen, because it's lacking in every single point. It has super mature topics, so definitely not for teenagers. But we had a lot of teenage drama, which was annoying. It also lacked in plot development, in character development, in sensitivity and depth. And I really, really wanted to enjoy the story because it is settled around a very serious topic that people should talk about. But as I said, it lacked sensitivity and the story didn't set the right focus, because the focus was Lucas and Lainey, but the focus of the story should have been, at least for the first half of the book, Lainey and Cooper. And if you write a book about this serious topic, so about abusive relationships, about toxic behavior, then please go in depth with this topic. Please show us every single facade of it. And that didn't happen here. We had most of the time the opposite of that, because we skipped Lainey's POVs when she got in these situations and had just Lucas' POV afterward. And that wasn't right, in my opinion. And beside the topic of this abusive relationship between Lainey and Cooper, we also had a lot of problematic behavior that wasn't discussed at all in this book, because Lucas is also a very controlling character. He makes all the decisions for Lainey and does this because he wants to protect her, but that doesn't make it right. And one other point that really annoyed me was the neglecting of children here by their parents. When they were there could be good parents and did their parenting well, but often they weren't there, especially Lainey's father, because he spent time with his new girlfriend and wasn't even at home, so he had no idea what was going on in Lainey's life, that she fall into this abusive relationship. And I got really mad about that because, as I said, it wasn't discussed in the book at all. It was just normal that the parents weren't there. I mean, yes, our main characters here are 17, 18, but nonetheless, they need their parents, especially when they are still living at home, and their parents should be there when they need them. And I get that Lucas' dad can't always be there because his wife died and he's the only parent left, so he needs to go to work, he needs to earn money. So the older children take care of the younger children a lot of times. I get that, but all in all, this book was not for me, and that led to my decision to not continue this series. I think the next story would have been Logan, and after that, Leo. But after all this problematic behavior, I have no interest in continuing the series. So I'm glad that I've read Loving Lucas now. I'm glad that you gifted it to me, Saskia. And I'm glad, Yassi, that you told me about it. But that's it for me. And we can continue now with the last book of this vlog. And this is now the last book of this final chapter vlog. And it doesn't fit the topic of this vlog because Operation Bounce House is a standalone, not part of the series. But for the near future, I have no vlog planned where this will really fit. So I thought, let's talk about it here. I was super excited to read this. It was a pre order because I really enjoy reading the Dungeon Crawler Car series. So I wanted to try out Matt Denneman's newest book, but sadly, this is how far I came because I am DNFing the book now. I have read 16 chapters in total, so on to day 2 of 5. And sadly, this book is not for me. Like in Dungeon Crawler Carl, I loved the social commentary, but I couldn't really get invested in the story because of the writing and because our main character, Oliver, isn't really emotionally invested in a super emotional situation because Oliver and his friends and his sister, they live on New Sonora, a planet far away from Earth, but humans settled there, or more subhumans as they are called by people from Earth, because their DNA is slightly optimated to fit the economy of this planet. But they look like normal humans, they act like normal humans, they are normal humans. But for people from Earth, they are subhumans. And now the people on Earth decided we want to kill the whole planet. And I don't know who on Earth decided that and why. But we know they told the population of Earth that New Sonora was overtaken by terrorists and that's why they need to kill the whole planet. And how they do it? They use gamers and streamers and people like that to control robots and drones on New Sonora to kill these people. So it feels for them like playing a video game like Call of Duty, Counter Strike, and all these shooter games that exists. And that's what I mean when I said I like the social commentary here. But again, Oliver, one of the people on New Sonora, I don't know what's going on with him, but he isn't really shocked. He isn't overwhelmed. He isn't crying. He isn't feeling scared. And that made it super, super hard for me to get into the story, to becoming invested in it. And honestly, the MVP of the story was Robert, the hive queen of these drones on this planet or in this area, because Robert is like a teacher to Oliver and his sister, and he's also the manager of the farm they have. So he leads the whole operation to fight back. He orders everyone around and they follow his lead. So, in my opinion, the story would have been way more interesting if it would have been written from the POV of Robert, the Hive Queen. So now, 120 pages into the story, I was really, really struggling with it. I wasn't tempted to picking it up again. And I watched the newest vlog of Becca from Becca and the Books because in her newest Shell It or Scrap It video, she reads Operation Bounce House and she told me everything I needed to know because the things I have a problem with here won't change until the end of the book, which led to me making my decision to DNF Operation Bounce House, as sad as I am about it. But it doesn't make sense to read a book I don't enjoy, especially when I know the things I don't enjoy won't change until the end of this whole story. So at this point, I can only hope that my buddy read partners will enjoy this book more than I am. One of my buddy read partners, Rebecca, hasn't started yet. She hasn't had the time for it, which is okay. And Julia has started, but has only read a few chapters. So I am interested to see what she will say when she's at the same point as me. But for me, that means that's it with Operation Bounce House. And for this vlog, that means we are now at the end of the video. Let's make a quick recap. We started this episode with 26 series to continue. I finished the Heartbeat series, so 25. I finished the Grishaverse, so 24. I also continued the World of Solaria with Zodiac Academy 9, which doesn't change the number. And then I started the Preston Brothers series, so 25 again. And now I realize that I need to make a cut here before I film the rest of the outro. Because when I'm filming this clip, I haven't finished Loving Lucas yet. And so I can't make a decision here if I continue the Preston Brothers series or not. So I can't give you a final number. So I will make a cut here and we see each other again in 3, 2, 1. Here I am again, a new location, but I finished now the last book for this vlog. I've read them all now, and I can say I won't continue the Preston Brothers series. So the number goes down again to 24. I'm very happy with this result for this vlog. and I can't wait to see what the next episode of the series will bring. If we can lower the number again, or if I will add a series in between or in the episode. I haven't planned it yet. I haven't started reading for it, obviously, because I wanted to finish this episode first. So, 24 series to continue, it is for now. So please tell me in the comments if you have read any of the books I've read here and how did you like them. Like this video if you wanna, follow my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!